Survivor Max, Too Smart to Die by Davi Barker. Dedicated to the Thornton Central School graduating class of 2015. Chapter 1, Quarantined. The first rule of the Porcupine Freedom Scouts is live. If you die, you fail at survival. I was sitting in science class. Ms. Lassard was writing active and hidden on the board. She began her lesson.
An active virus attacks healthy cells and hijacks them to spread itself. Active viruses present symptoms immediately, making them relatively easy to diagnose and hopefully treat.
Science is my favorite subject, and it's probably the only thing I like about school. But viruses are so kid stuff for me. My dad is a scientist and talks about them all the time, so I was struggling to pay attention. She continued.
Examples of active viruses are things like influenza, the mumps, and measles.
She wrote them on the board. I doodled in my notebook. I was so bored. She went on.
A hidden virus invades healthy cells, but allows them to function normally, so it spreads when the cells replicate. Hidden viruses lay dormant until the body is weak, and don't express symptoms until later, making them harder to identify.
My phone made the signature jingle of a text message from Dad. I held the phone in my lap under the desk as I read, "They won't let me take you. The school is under quarantine. Get home now, whatever it takes. I'll explain later." I blinked. Quarantine? I looked out the window where I could see the parking lot in front of the school. 2 ambulances had pulled up, followed by the local police department's armored vehicle. Behind them was a huge black van that looked like some kind of mobile command center. It was from the New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services. Strange. Very strange.
Who can give me an example of a hidden virus? Max?
My attention darted from the window to the front of the room. The class snickered. It was one of those gotcha questions she only asked when she knew someone wasn't paying attention, and I wasn't. I stared up at her blankly.
Max, you know you're not supposed to be on your phone in class. If you don't put it away, I'm going to have to take it.
I put the phone in my pocket. Sorry, I said. Then the school's lockdown alarm went off, and the class erupted in panicked gasps.
Calm down, everyone. It's probably only a drill.
Ms. Lassard began closing the window blinds, pausing when she saw the scene in front of the school. She continued with a slight quiver in her voice.
Everyone get under your desks. Max, would you lock the door?
I went to the door, but hesitated before locking it. I looked at my phone again. Whatever it takes. I opened the door and ran out. As I ran through the halls, I tried to call Dad, but he wasn't picking up. Principal Bonus came on the loudspeaker.
Governor Warden has announced a state of emergency in Thornton and all of Grafton County. Everyone stay calm. Teachers, bring your students to the auditorium in an orderly fashion for roll call. Their parents have been called. Everything is under control.
They called our parents but wouldn't let them take us? That made no sense. Classroom doors were flung open and students poured into the hall. Teachers tried to keep them together, but it was chaos. I stepped out of the green steel doors at the front of the school and bumped right into the school resource officer, a dim-witted giant named Pike.
Hey, you need to go back to the auditorium.
He put one hand on my shoulder and the other on his taser as he began pushing me back inside. He's pretty slow, not just mentally but physically too, so I considered running past him. The heavily armed men in head-to-toe body armor who were filling up the parking lot behind him made me reconsider, so I tried something else. Despite his uniform, his badge, and his taser, Pike was the dumbest member of the faculty. Even though security was his job, breaching security was as easy as outsmarting him. I faked up a nasty-sounding cough and sniffed as I rubbed my nose across my arm. Principal Bonus told me to go to the nurse's office and wait. I guess I got turned around. I'm feeling kind of lightheaded. His eyes went wide and he quickly took his hand off my shoulder and rubbed it on his black pants. He pointed toward the nurse's office and told me to wait there, even though it was already evacuated. Once he was gone, I slipped out a window. Behind the school there was the playground, behind that a field, and behind that open wilderness. At the far end, I saw 2 men in city jumpsuits constructing a chain-link fence across the back of the schoolyard. As soon as they saw me, we all began running toward the opening in the fence. I barely made it through ahead of them. I heard one of them yell after me,
"Hey kid, come back!"
and the other yelled,
"You'll be sorry you left."
They didn't chase, and I escaped into the woods. I didn't know what the lockdown was for, but I knew a quarantine was to prevent the spread of disease. That was Dad's area of expertise. I figured I'd get all the answers when he got home from work.